Hi everybody, welcome back to the Energy Stoners Cafe and Talk with TQ. I'm always so pleased when you come to watch this show. Thank you again. I like to thank you every week. Well, tonight we have one of my favorite guests and a friend of the show at this point, Dr. Ced. And he's going to talk to us today about his book, Self-Care Advocate, 7 Steps to Prevent Chronic Disease. It's a very important topic for people of all ages. So welcome back, Dr. Ced.
Thank you for having me, Toni. It's my pleasure to be on your show.
It's always really good when you walk in here. You bring such great energy. We love it. We
Thank
do.
you.
Right? So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about two specific subjects that really, in a way, to me, it kind of becomes one. The subject is exercise, but we're going to talk specifically about exertion and restoration.
Yes.
So why are those two components of exercise important?
Yes, so great question, Toni. So those two aspects are the final 2 steps in our 7 steps to prevent chronic disease. So that is performing exertion and allowing for restoration. Those two go hand in hand because they focus greatly on the physical aspect as well as the mental aspect of your health. We're living in a day and age now where more and more people are living a sedentary lifestyle. Now, for those who may be watching, I just want to clarify, a sedentary lifestyle is simply defined as a lifestyle where one spends very little energy. I don't want to use the L word for lazy, but we have so many conveniences now that we are not exerting our bodies like we once did in times past. So things have gotten so convenient, and which is a wonderful thing. But of course, there are consequences to not physically exerting yourself, and I'd like to get into that a little bit as we go on with the interview.
It's interesting you speak of the conveniences. I'm thinking about, I guess from early 2021, probably to this day, we started having food delivered. We didn't even leave the house. We're just hanging out, and we all know what happens, but some of us don't know what happens. Some of us were surprised about what happens.
It was very predictable.
Yes, when you don't exert yourself. So you think it's because of the conveniences. Aside from having things delivered, what are the other conveniences that contribute to this lack of exertion?
Well, that's a very good question. It's not just the modern conveniences, it's society in itself. For example, according to the CDC, they surveyed American adults and they found that 40% of adults in this country don't actively participate in physical activity or physical exercises. So that's about 40% of adults who don't have any sort of physical exercise routines or anything like that. So it's a mindset change that we have to apply. But it's more than that. It's also how society has been built. According to another survey, they found that 60% of children spend at least 8 hours sitting. So that could be due to being in school or colleges or in classrooms. So you're spending a significant part of your day just sitting down. Now, the reason that is dangerous is because a sedentary lifestyle has been linked to about 30 different types of chronic diseases. It affects your cardiovascular health. Your heart has to be able to pump blood and transport the nutrients and move. And so when you're not physically exercising or physically active, well, that gets reduced. And of course, that can lead to a whole host of other things. It affects your metabolism. It affects your neurological system. It affects your bone health, the physical structure that maintains your body, your physical upkeep. So a sedentary lifestyle contributes to a host of chronic diseases, at least 30 of them, which then can manifest in any number of diseases for you. So we're talking blunting your insulin sensitivity, which can lead to type 2 diabetes. We're talking obesity and weight gain, of course, right? Because if you're eating all this food, but you're not exercising or burning it up, well, then what's going to happen is a lot of it gets stored as fat, right? Adipose fat all over your body. So all of these chronic conditions that we're seeing manifest today, a lot of them are due to living a sedentary lifestyle. And I think that's something I wish more of us would have a conversation on.
I think perhaps it has a lot to do with taking the car and driving the car as
Yes.
opposed to using your feet and walking when it's really not that far.
Yes, yes, and I stand guilty of that.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell. Everybody knows. No, it's okay. I get it. Sometimes you have to. I think as the days get shorter, the daylight hours become, fewer. I think it's important to keep yourself safe sometimes and take the car or whatever. So I think that often people think it's all, how should I say this? I've known people, and I used to be like this to an extent. It was like all or nothing. You have to do everything. You have to do a full workout. You have to do, you have to run every day. You have to do this every, it's like they become almost
Obsessed.
obsessed, right? It's almost like a weird form of a little OCD about how much activity you've had. So I know that it doesn't have to be that way, but I'm wondering if the audience knows that it could be different.
Well, that's a great point. I don't think you should be obsessed with exercising because you probably have responsibilities. You have jobs and careers. You have home responsibilities. You have children. You have family. You have social responsibilities. So all of those things will take up your time. What was interesting was, according to the Department of Health, they recommend getting some sort of between 150 to 300 minutes of physical aerobic activity, I believe, in a month. So
In a month?
Yeah, so I believe you're looking at things such as walking, running, speed walking, even jumping, jumping rope. So anything.
Dancing.
Yeah, dancing. Aerobic activities are defined as anything that actually increases your heart rate and can maintain it for a period of time. And so though most of those aerobic activities we've listed don't require any sort of fancy gyms or fancy tools or anything. These are things that you can do by yourself, with friends, at home, at work, anywhere. In fact, one of the best things anybody can do is most of our smartphones actually track the amount of steps that you take. So, you usually have the ability to set goals, and maybe you can set a goal to take 10,000 steps a day, which is very reasonable. And I think starting somewhere like that would actually go a long way into priming people and getting people used to meeting a physical activity goal each and every day. So it doesn't have to be any grand gestures or anything grand. Now, if that's something you'd like to do, that's fine. Then maybe you would consider things that are anaerobic physical exercises. So these are things like weightlifting, bench pressing. These are typically defined as short bursts of energy. Right? Short but high burst of energy. So any high intensity workout that stresses your body, but for a short amount of time, those things are also good and helpful as well. But I think, I believe the Department of Health requires about between 75 to 150 minutes of that a month. So again, it's very doable. That may require a little bit more because you'll need weights and different tools that can help you, or you may just go to a gym. So you do have options, but I don't believe that it's an all or nothing option. I think you have the ability to fit whichever type of exercise routine into your life as it fits best. There's also things that are focused on resistance training. So this could be, these are defined as exercises that stretch you, and examples of which include things like yoga, meditation, just light stretches. I know Asian communities, especially Chinese communities, are big on like Tai Chi in the morning, where they're just slow but repetitive motions to sort of get your joints in the habit of moving so that they don't just lock up when you're doing something. So all of those things are actually very helpful, and they're actually very good to do, whether you're by yourself, whether you have the tools or access to a gym, or you're with friends.
I discovered recently through a friend, I have an app on my TV which I wasn't Sure, I didn't know that I had it. And you can actually search for short workouts. So yeah, I think that's one way to do it. I mean, I don't know how much exertion. I guess it's relative to the person's fitness, right?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So, how much exercise somebody needs, it's not a uniform number. How much exercise you need is relative to your fitness. It also depends on your age. We have to take into account that, what you can do in your 20s is not, maybe not as easy for you to do in your 50s and 60s. So, we have to take that into account. We also have to consider where somebody is at this particular point. So we have an obesity crisis. And so that may limit certain people from being able to perform certain things for the time being. But of course, we have to learn to understand that, hey, you take one step at a time. Whatever your goals are for yourself, whatever goals you've set for yourself, it's all about taking that first step. Once you take that first step, you realize it's not that bad. You take the second step. Well, it's still not that bad, right? But it's about overcoming the mental hurdle of, well, it's going to be so inconvenient. Yes, at first it will be, but repetition builds character and it builds habit. And once it becomes a habit, really, it becomes a part of your everyday routine.
So it sounds to me like you're saying that the consistency is more important than the intensity.
I believe that, yes, because once you have the consistency down pat, things actually become easier. Then you can begin to add a little more to whatever your load is. So if you start with 10,000 steps a day and you consistently do it for several weeks, well, then what's stopping you from going to 15,000 steps a day and then 20,000 and so on and so, and then maybe light jogging or running or sprinting. So all of those things come with time. I think the important thing is not to overwhelm people who are living that sedentary lifestyle, because sometimes, we're just overwhelmed with the possibility of just this complete 180 change in our lifestyles that for a lot of people, it scares them, right? But instead, showing them a gradual way in which they can begin to adopt these holistic habits, begin to implement these physical actions, and as it becomes habitual, it becomes easier. And then they can add on top of that. So yes, you're absolutely right.
I've heard, and you can elaborate on this if you like, that physical exercise is very important for mental health as well.
Yes, yes. In fact, unfortunately, you have a situation where I believe 3.2 million deaths annually worldwide may be linked to a lack of physical exercise. And of course, that ties into your mental health as well, because part of those deaths you have, we're not just looking at people who are maybe dying of obesity-related diseases such as heart attacks and strokes, but you're also looking at poor mental health. And so that really ties into the allowing for restoration part of our conversation, which is, are people able to deal with the stresses that they encounter? I mean, we're living, yes, society today is a lot easier than it was 50 years ago due to the modern conveniences, but stress hasn't really gone down as much as we'd hoped, right? You're stressed at school, you're stressed at work, you're stressed on your way to work, right? You're stressed with your bills. You're stressed with income. I mean, in fact, when we look at the number one, some of the top causes of stress in America, for Americans, money is one of them. Work is another. Family issues is another. Of course, medical health and medical problems, healthcare is another for people. So we're constantly juggling with those things. We're constantly juggling with those issues. And all it takes is one bad month for something that was a minor inconvenience to become a major issue for people. And unfortunately, people don't know how to unwind properly. And, for some people, they understand, when I get stressed, I like to run. I like to go out, socialize with my friends, whereas other people, they may be a little bit more recluse and stick to themselves. Unfortunately, with that, we're not meant to be alone. We're social creatures. And so I think it does a little bit better for your mental health to be around people that can cheer you up, lift you up, help you sort of see the way out of your particular predicament. And of course, it doesn't help that you have poor physical health, right? Because that, of course, contributes to poor mental health. In fact, we touched upon this before when we talked about the connection between the gut and the brain, and sort of the gut microbiome and the environment, and how the signals and chemicals they produce affects your brain, and of course, ultimately affect your mental health. So those two are connected as well.
I imagine that mental health, I know it, I actually know it, can affect your body, can manifest in a physical condition.
Yes, yes. I mean, we're talking about things like depression. If you're someone who is prone to depression, or you're feeling depressed, well, guess what? That's going to affect some of the choices that you make. That's going to affect whether you want to go out with your friends, whether you want to physically exercise. It's going to affect what you choose to eat, whether you even wake up, get off from your bed to carry on with your daily activities. So even though it's a mental thing, it's something internal, it definitely affects your physical, and it affects others as well. It's funny, it's something you can't see, but it has such a huge ripple effect on so many other people around you, people you care about, people that care about you. We actually have a lot of tools available to people. Unfortunate part is that not everybody knows what those resources and tools are. So I think if you're someone who's prone to these mental issues, mental challenges, then it would serve you very well to take a look at what your local services are. Start there, see what your local services are. Some of them are actually available for free. You have apps nowadays where you can talk to people, therapy apps that you can talk to people that can help you work through some of your situations. Again, certain people have their social circles, their trusted friends and family members, churches, or, whatever religious affiliations, where you can get sort of spiritual guidance and enlightenment and encouragement. So those tools are available to you, and many of them are free. Right? You don't have to spend any money to have access to. There are services that you have to pay for, but I'm just sort of listing some of the services that are available to people free of charge that they can turn to should they be in one of those predicaments.
What do you think of the meditation apps, the guided meditation apps? There you can get a guided meditation to help you stop eating sugar, and you could listen to it while you're sleeping. What do you think of that?
That's a very good question. I think I've never experienced one of those meditation apps myself, so I can't speak on it, but I do know that as I was doing some research in my book, some things that stood out to me that may be applicable to your question is simply this. Anytime you're working with other people, your chances of success become greater.
Oh.
So that means that if, let's say, you are in a particular meditation group and you're all working towards the same goal, the fact that you're with like-minded people on a similar journey, or on the same journey with ultimately the same goal, increases your chances of success significantly. In fact, it increases your chances of adhesion, which means sticking to it. A good example is, January 1st, everybody makes a resolution. I want to lose weight. I want to start going to the gym. I want to do this. I want to do that. We buy all the dumbbells and barbells and all the clothes and everything like that. But by March, what do we find? We find that the overwhelming majority of those people who made the resolution have just forgotten about it, neglected it, given up, and have just gone back to living the way that they live. And I think one of the biggest issues is you made this resolution by yourself. You did not have a support group or a group of like-minded individuals to hold you accountable and say, hey, Toni, every Saturday evening, we're going to the gym, right? And so I think it's very much the same way that if you were to have that level of support from a group, your chances of success would be significantly higher. And likewise, I think when you apply that same principle to the guided meditation app, that community of like-minded individuals psychologically helps you stay focused, helps you adhere to your goals, and ultimately helps you reach that goal that you're seeking.
Yeah, and you're saying the word goal, which means that, to me, that you're assuming that everybody has a goal. Is a goal something that is important to actually achieve that adhesion, as you say?
I want to say yes. I agree with that statement, Toni. I think a goal is like setting a target. If I get in my car and I don't know where I'm going, I might just drive around and waste gas and, go to the first, restaurant that I see, So I'd like to, for the sake of time, I like to know where I'm going ahead of time so that when I do get in my car, I know I'm going to go down here, I'm going to make a left, a right, a left, and then that's my destination. So a goal is helpful because number one, it holds you accountable. It allows you to focus only on that which you desire and rule out any and all distractions that may present themselves. Whereas if you're just randomly driving around, ooh, look, there's a new store. Ooh, look, I've never seen that.
Ooh, look, Baskin Robbins.
Yeah, an ice cream store. So I think, but if you have a goal to go to, Whole Foods or Mrs. Green's for a salad or something like that, well, then you sort of tune out all the other distractions and you focus on going to Mrs. Green's, right? So I think a goal is very helpful because a goal is your word to yourself, you being honest to yourself. If you say, my goal is to lose this much and this is how I'm going to do it, well, are you an honorable person? Are you going to honor your own words to yourself, right? I mean, you can lie to other people, but don't lie to yourself. Lying is wrong, I'm saying. But when you state a goal to yourself that this is what I want to do, well, then you hold yourself accountable, and that I believe determines whether you are an honorable person, whether you can honor your words to yourself first and foremost. So I think a goal is something that's very important. It may be scary, but ultimately a goal is a desired outcome as opposed to remaining where you are. That's how I think about it.
To thine own self be true.
To thine own self be true.
Yes, and don't you forget it.
There's a saying that says, respect begets respect. If you show up to an interview dressed any kind of way, well then, you're probably going to get a very small amount of respect, if any, right? If you show up to a very professional workplace dressed any kind of way, you get the respect that you show up, you offer, and you display essentially, right? Whereas you may not have a lot of money or you may not have much wealth, but the way you comport yourself, the way you dress, the way you present yourself may earn you a lot more respect than you think you deserve. So it's all about how you treat yourself, how honorable you are to yourself. I think when you can say, this is what I want, this is what I want to achieve for myself or in my life, I think, and you're working towards that, believe it or not, those around you are influenced. They're able to see what you're doing. Whether or not they like you or not, it doesn't matter. When they see you following through on your words, it breeds respect. It breeds appreciation for who you are as a person.
So what about restoration? Because I kind of put that with the exercise. Restoration is important. I'm thinking about cool down, but
Yes.
But really, what really is restoration? Does it just happen, when you're not exercising because you exercised, or do you have to do something?
I love the term you used, which is cool down, as a way to describe restoration. And the reason is when we're talking about restoration or allowing for restoration, what we're talking about is allowing for the body to heal. We're talking about allowing for the body to rest and recover from every other step that you've been doing. And one of the best times, or one of the best ways in which your and mine, our bodies heal, is by sleep. Unfortunately, today in the United States, 35.2% of adults don't get enough sleep. And you're looking at something like, the average adult should get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep.
9 hours.
7 to 9. But we are inundated and constantly distracted by television, our phones. A lot of people are in bed but on their phones, with the blue light constantly shining. And that affects how you sleep. That affects how you're able to rest. If you're in bed by 10 but close your eyes by 2 a.m., well, yeah, you were in bed, but you didn't really rest, right? You didn't sleep. You didn't allow your body to start the recovery process.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about restoration, it's about understanding that this is just as crucial for your physical health, including your mental health, as anything else, as far as maintaining health and wellness in the body.
I think a lot of people need to hear this. It's very important. I realize that. So restoration, sleep. We could discuss. I don't know how much time we have left, but I'm curious about that blue light.
Yeah, so we have very many distractions today, keeping us awake, keeping us from sleeping. We're seeing it in kids, we're seeing it in children, we're seeing it in adults. We're seeing something to the effect of over 50 million Americans are using some sort of prescription sleep aid. You're talking about things like melatonin or things that are over the counter, or more prescriptions like Ambien. So you have millions of Americans, tens of millions of Americans that cannot sleep without the use of these prescription sleep aids. And that presents a problem because the prescription sleep aids do not solve the problem of sleep. You're still going to need them day in, day out. And so they themselves present with their own side effects. So sleeping is one of the most basic functions of humanity. And if you lose that ability, or that ability gets interrupted in any kind of way, that affects your health going forward from that point. And I think we have to start looking at what are some of these things that have caused us to miss out on the ability to sleep. I mean, children know how to sleep. That's the first thing they learn how to do, right? Cry, eat, and sleep, right? And maybe poop as well. But when you've gotten to the point where, like many of us have gotten, where you have lost that ability to lay down and close your eyes, then you're looking at some massive issues that tie directly into your health and the development of chronic diseases.
Well, I really appreciate what you're saying, and I just want to remind the audience that you are a doctor of pharmacology.
Yes.
But you do advocate a natural way of living,
Yes.
so you understand really what those medicines do.
Yes.
So I thank you again so much for coming and just elaborating on sections of your book, and I'm looking so forward to having you on again. How can someone get in touch with you if they want to talk to you?
If anybody wants to get in touch with us, please visit my website. It's drced.com, 5 letters, drced.com. There you'll have access to my book, Self-Care Advocate, 7 Steps to Prevent Chronic Disease. You can get a copy on Amazon. You can even get a free PDF copy from my website. We do have a course. We have a Self-Care Advocate course. It's a 3-hour course that you can purchase right from our website. We have a challenge coming up, and we do offer one-on-one coaching or even group coaching to anybody who wants to work with us, so we can help them apply the 7 steps, or the Self-Care 7, as I like to call them, into their lives to ultimately improve their health. But it starts with visiting drced.com, DRCED. There you'll have access to all of our social media, at Dr. Cedrick for Instagram, but it's all accessible through my website. Once you have that, then you can save the tabs.
So there you have it, everybody. That's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ced. I feel healthy because I was just sitting here listening.
Thank you for having me.
I feel like I had a little workout of the mind and the spirit. But no, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to our next show.
Thank you so much,
in this series. And I want to thank the audience for once again coming to listen to the Energy Stoners Cafe and to watch Talk with TQ on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time when I bring another extraordinary guest to feed your psyche. Bye-bye.